Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another amazing episode on the Unleashing Potentials podcast. I'm your host, Bernadette, and joining me today is Lenore. How are you?
I'm well, thank you, Bernadette. It's great to be here.
Awesome. Lenore, where about are you tuning in from?
I am in the Pennsylvania Lehigh Valley.
Oh, nice. Have you always lived there?
After COVID, I'm a New Yorker and I've been in New York for many years. So this is about 90 minutes outside the city, but I was longing for a little more country and nature, and it's good to be
Yeah.
in surrounded by the earth.
Oh, that's awesome. I want that. It's
Yeah,
so busy in the city. It's so hard to even think properly or to find
yeah.
peace.
Yeah, I think we need spaces where we can get away and connect with nature. And I know COVID really made that apparent for me that it was something I was missing and longing for.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. So, Lenore, what do you do and how long have you been doing it?
So I'm a transformational coach, and by that I mean I help people find real alignment in their personal growth and their professional fulfillment. And I spent 20 years as a corporate marketing executive, and then I had one of those, breakthrough moments where I knew I needed to do something that was more aligned with my heart and not just my head. And so I've had my own business for 12 years. I initially started as an outsourced chief marketing officer. So I was doing strategic coaching, consulting for many different high growth financial and technology companies. And I was always doing executive leadership coaching on the side. But as I increased my training and working with multiple modalities, I made a shift recently. I published a book, which I have here, and really am doing the individual work with conscious leaders to support them in their journey.
I love that. Tell us more about your book. Oh, books. Do you have
Sure.
more than one,
Yes,
right?
I have books. So I have, so the book is called So What Do You Do? The Authentic Alchemy Path to Find Who You Are. And there's a companion workbook that has all of the different exercises and activities. And it's really a roadmap for people to understand themselves on a much deeper level. I think a lot of the traditional career guides that you might find focus on a lot of external things. Your resume, your LinkedIn, networking, job search, those are so important and practical. But if you don't know what you want and you haven't done the inner work, you're going to end up in the wrong place. So I really spend a lot of time helping people when they're ready to make a change, clear space so that they actually can focus on what they want and then do the inner work to understand what they care most about. And it's on a personal level in their lives, on a professional level for their work, and then their environment. So all of those things come into play.
Yeah, I love that. Inner work is definitely not easy. It's so
No.
hard. That's why so many of us, not all of us do it or want
Yeah.
to do it. How did you practice and continue to do inner work for yourself?
I think it was a journey that I started, shortly before I had that moment when I knew I needed to leave the corporate world. I just realized I needed to live more aligned with my heart and my values. I think of it as like, your soul speaks to you at a certain point. You can keep denying it and pushing it down, and then it's going to hit you in the face eventually. I call it a tower moment. If you're familiar with the tarot, the tower card is when the
Mhm.
building is burning in fire and people are jumping out because it's on an unstable foundation. So I think, we have the opportunity to consider what we want, and ideally, we would do that reflective work. But sadly, sometimes circumstances make them come up. We either have an illness, death in the family, job loss. I mean, all of these environmental disasters, there's so much change happening that forces us to face ourselves. So, I think the inner work process is just a journey of being willing to look at what's not working and to make conscious choices to do things differently so that we can find more happiness and ease, because otherwise it's kind of a struggle.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I agree. Thank you for sharing. What would you say sets you apart from other coaches that are doing the work that you're doing?
I guess I think one thing that makes me distinct is that I really have a lot of corporate experience. So I bring that business badass expertise to a lot of woo. And I think that the two can happily coexist. So I'm very practical and strategic and grounded, but I also believe in the power of energy, spiritual connection, rituals. I work with a lot of different ways of helping people to connect more deeply with themselves. And really, I'm not looking to give anyone the answers. I used to do that a lot. I got hired, for my consulting expertise, but really, I'm holding space for whoever I'm working with to connect deeply with their own insight, their wisdom. And I think what I'm able to do is create the safe environment, help hold the highest vision for what they want to create, and then create a pathway so they can make that happen. And most of my clients, I have no desire to keep working with people. I want to empower them so they can stand in their truth and really know what it is that motivates them. So all of their choices in the future come from a place of being grounded in themselves.
Mm, I love that. I love it. Thank you. Tell us more about the woo stuff that you do.
Yeah. It's funny. So I initially trained in life coaching, right, which is, helping people figure out what they want. And then I got trained in a more somatic or embodied practice and group process facilitation. So I really help people connect with their body. More recently, I've trained in energy medicine and shamanic healing. So that works deeply with the chakras, which are the energy centers in the body, our thoughts, our vision, our voice, our heart, all the way down. So once I started working with the energy, that opened up so many other possibilities. I've studied feng shui, so that's about the energy in our spaces. I work with crystals and tarot. I'm deepening my understanding of astrology. And I don't believe any one of these is the answer. They're just so meaningful and powerful and offer an alternative for people to connect in deeper ways with their truth. So I weave those things in when people are open to it and allow them to think of things in new ways. I actually look at them as creative tools that expand the field of possibilities so that we don't get like stuck in our mind. So I don't know if you've ever worked, for example, with tarot or oracle cards, right? There are images.
Yeah.
And we can connect with pictures in a way that's different than if we're only trying to think of things. So they're really just different creative channels to help people embody and uncover what is longing to be expressed.
I love that. I love that you mentioned express because there's so many ways we can express ourselves, and we're so unique and so different in how we do it. How do you guide or help your clients to bring out the artistic side of their soul to express that?
I'm so glad you brought that up. I saw that you're an artist.
Mhm.
And, one thing that's interesting for my own story. I was told when I was in the business environment that I wasn't very creative. I had one boss who had an image of, creativity looks like this, and I was not that. I was creative in a very different way. And that really damaged me in some ways because it was like she put a damper on my form of expression. And once I was able to overcome that and realize, no, actually, I'm incredibly creative. I'm at like the 99th percentile of people generating ideas, so I am quite creative. And then when I wrote the book, I loved it. I love the process so much. So I would say I'm a fan of Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way. I mean, that's a beautiful book that guides people to create the space of creating and sort of seeing things in new ways.
Mhm.
So I think for me, it's always an invitation for people to explore, and we never know what is going to come up. So I find, for some people, they are very visual. For other people, they are more, kinesthetic and in their bodies. For some people, it might be, scent or doing activities. So I sort of will look to tap into what it is that is connecting with my clients so they can find something that works for them. So, for example, when I work with Feng Shui, we work with the elements, right?
Mhm.
Some people are very drawn to water, right? Water is very healing and nurturing. Some people like fire. Fire is, obviously, strong and powerful, but maybe we need more air and lightness. So it's just, or being earth and grounded. So it's sort of finding what is true for whoever is needing a connection. And I don't think there's one, like this is the only way to do it. I find that's incredibly limiting.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree. And at times, people don't realize that they're actually creating masterpieces until someone from the outside tells them, I love this. It looks great. I know for me, painting and doing other forms of arts. Obviously, I doubt myself. I question and I'm
Yeah.
like, it's not good enough. And I used to compare myself with other artists, other people. But over time, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not them. There's no way I can create like them. It's having the humility to accept our flaws while we create and to learn from them. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. I have this belief that there are no mistakes, that every choice we've made, everything that's happened to us has been for a reason. Now, sometimes we don't like what happened, but that doesn't mean that they're all bad. I mean, and obviously sometimes bad things do happen, but we have the opportunity to interpret them and make the meaning out of everything. So this is the hero or heroine's journey, which is how do we interpret the experiences that we've had in such a way that they can fuel us and we can make different choices going forward. And, with art and creativity, it's really allowing yourself to be vulnerable, make mistakes, when you're beginning. I mean, that is the creative process is messy. Like that's just part of it, is that it's sort of unstructured and unknown, but it starts to formulate into something that makes sense. But you can't always know when or how that's going to happen. But if you trust and if you go on the journey, it can be beautiful. You don't know where it's going to take you, but
Yeah.
that's part of the joy.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about blocks for a little bit, which can mean so many different things. I get painter's block, writer's block, other blocks. Maybe you do as well. Share with us some blocks that you either have had and how you kind of process and work through it.
Yeah, so I work with the chakras quite a bit. So I think of blocks in many ways. I think of them as being actual physical things like, oh God, my shoulders hurt. Like, and then I will ask, what is the weight that you're carrying or that I have that I need to unburden myself, right? Or what is the belief and the thought that's getting in the way? How do we need to change that? So I work to energetically clear the blocks once I've identified where they are. I also will incorporate a lot of different practices. So the book actually has an entire framework that uncovers the different blocks people will encounter so that I'm giving you the tools to understand and identify. I mean, in my own personal experience,
Mhm.
I do find that sometimes it's around belief work. Like maybe just like you, I worry something's not good enough, or, I'm afraid to take a stand. And then I try and think through, well, what is it that I really want to accomplish and what am I here for? And then once you can reframe things and realize, well, not everybody's going to like what I say.
Yeah.
And I don't really want them to, right? I kind of want to connect with the people who actually get it and resonate. And if other people say no, that's okay. That's probably a good thing because they're probably not the right fit for me and the work that I do. So I think that's really part of the process is coming back to yourself and centering in your truth. And the more you can reveal that, then it gives you the opportunity to sort of express from your heart and your soul in a more true and authentic way.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. And I think at times our truth can threaten other people's truth. Because lots of us are wearing masks, we cover and hinder ourselves.
Yeah,
And there's the other half that's like, I'm a wild card free spirit. I really don't care. And it took time to get to that place. When I say I
yeah,
don't care, people are like, okay, then why are you inspiring talking? It doesn't mean that. It means precisely what you just described. It's not for everybody. I always tell people, take and leave what you want.
yeah.
Doesn't bother me.
I think what you've said is so powerful, and I also address this in the book and in my work with clients is that when you start changing, not everybody's going to like it. In fact, it's going to make some people really uncomfortable because they want you in a little box so they know how to interpret you and how to deal with you. I remember a story. I was working with a founder who was unhappy because she had a corporate job. She was supporting her whole family. And I said to her, but if you get sick, you're not going to be able to support them. And if you can't do this thing you love, how are you going to feel if you sacrifice that? And she sort of didn't want to hear it, that she was going to have some difficult conversations with the people she loved. And I was like,
Mhm.
you have to do what feels right for you. But if you keep wearing yourself out, I don't know that that's going to serve anyone. But you have to know. And so I think sometimes that's really the process for people to kind of come to terms with who they are, and either they can suppress it and deny it and what they believe in and what they care about, or they can acknowledge their truth and have some of those more challenging conversations and realize it's not about them, it's about the other people feeling threatened.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Yeah. Earlier you talked about the elements.
Yeah,
I'm a water person.
beautiful.
Yeah, I love water. My logo on the podcast is of water. And I don't know if you believe in past lives and all that funky stuff. I do.
Absolutely.
I was a mermaid, like
Beautiful.
Atlantis. So it's all making sense. And then the
Yeah,
colors in my hair, when I paint,
love
I
it.
put those colors as well. So it took time for me to discover, oh wow, this is who I am. That's why I love water. And
Yeah,
that I enjoy swimming. I feel free in it and just colors.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, that's so beautiful. I mean, I think that, obviously we're made of water. I don't know, what is it, like 85% of our body? Water is so powerful. And, I think the more we start to love and accept the parts of ourselves that maybe we were taught to hide or that threatened other people or made us uncomfortable,
Mhm.
it really comes from feeling safe in your body. And that is where the healing work can make a big difference, where you realize it's more important to be self-expressed than to be, held back and inhibited, because then you're at the mercy of other people instead of being able to make conscious choices for your own your own future. I mean, our life is short. We might as well live without regrets, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Talk to us about safety. That's what came up as you mentioned safe.
Yeah. Well,
Because yeah,
yeah. No,
yeah.
finish what you were saying.
Oh, I was gonna say that most of us never have felt safe,
Yeah.
whether it's from childhood. I know I'm building that safety. I'm nurturing a little girl in this
Yeah.
women vessel that you're looking at. She's
Yeah.
been beat, broken, unsafe, not heard. So I'm doing that, but not everyone knows where to start to nurture and water themselves to feel safe in their bodies.
Yeah. Well, I do think safety is I don't want to say it's a fleeting thing, but I think once we build it within ourselves, it becomes more unshakable. I do share practices in the book for how to do that. Inner child work, which you talked about, is very powerful. I don't get into that because I think that can be best done, let's say, in a coaching or therapeutic session with an experienced practitioner. But part of it is talking with yourself, recognizing what you need, and then also being open to the fact that there is another reality. And sometimes we can't see that for ourselves, which is why having someone mirror back to us, oh, what if it was this? Like it lets us see things differently. I'm also thinking one practice I share that is powerful is grounding. So that's where we imagine that we're deeply connected to the earth. So we can imagine that we have energetic roots coming out of the soles of our feet. We can also, I'll even get up and show you, we can also just, stand and lower our center of gravity. So I do a lot of this work with clients around when they're preparing to be in challenging situations. The more grounded we are, you could even imagine like an anchor dropping down. That's one way of centering yourself physically. It also can help you to lower your voice so you're not like up here, like how people talk when they're nervous. And so it's like breathing deeply. Breath work is a very powerful tool. There are a lot of different strategies, but part of it is also recognizing how much of it is our environment. So if we're in an environment that doesn't feel safe, we might need to leave where we are if we can. If we can't leave where we are, then we have to learn the strategies for how to adapt and manage ourselves in the situation that we're in. But those are some of the things that I think are worth reflecting on. What is within your control? What is not in your control? If you can't control it, you can control yourself.
Yeah, yeah, thank you for sharing. Yeah, I've been told by many different healers and people who do similar work that you do that I'm not grounded, that I need to do it more often. And I try. I'm working on it, but I don't understand the concept of it all the time. Because I'm just so disconnected. Like it doesn't make sense to someone who wouldn't understand some spiritual keywords, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah,
And let me tie trauma to grounding as well.
yeah,
That's kind of my connection, and also illnesses. Because
yeah,
when someone is suffering so much, whether it's
yeah,
physically, mentally, spiritually,
yes,
they want to disconnect so they don't
yeah,
feel the agony that they're in. Can you speak
yeah.
a little bit on that based on your
Yes.
experiences?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's pretty natural when young children experience trauma that they leave themselves, right? And we leave in different ways. We leave energetically, right? So we can prefer to go to spirit and just like our soul goes out of our body. So I do something called soul retrieval work, which is where I'm working in the energetic realms to help recover lost soul parts that we bring back to the person to basically restore wholeness. And it's very powerful work. It's beautiful, it's deeply healing. It takes some time, like it's not like,
Yeah.
oh, there you're back, right?
Yeah.
It's you start to reconnect with the lost parts of yourself to reintegrate them and start to embody them and help them to feel, coming back to that word of safety. So letting them know that you're going to be there for them and that, that your adult version can protect them. I also, during soul retrievals, um, there are a few parts to it. One is identifying when did the wound happen, and it could be in this life, it could be in past lives, it could be an ancestral
Mhm.
trauma that's passed down. Then we look at what was the agreement that came up that is holding the person in an unhealthy pattern. So we want to rewrite that. So, in other words, if someone believes I'm not safe, we want to replace that with a belief that I am safe and protected. And so something that is going to help them feel more safe. And then we find the lost soul part. We also find a gift for them that they can refer to. It can be an image, it can be, something deeply symbolic. I also work with power animals. So there are energies and guides available to support us in reclaiming those parts of ourselves that may have not felt safe to stay.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. I've also done that soul retrieval. If someone's not ready for it, you got to be ready.
Well, if we don't,
Yeah.
like if we don't put in place ways to maintain our healed state, it can be easy to revert to old patterns.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a process, it's a journey.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Because when I was doing mine, um, one of my ancestors came through, my grandfather. It is so fascinating, all of it, because he passed when I was very young, and I don't have
Mhm.
much memories of dude. For
Yeah,
some reason, I feel that part of my soul resonance somehow still is connected to him. It's
yeah,
like I'm thinking with him wherever he is at, and he's always the first to step through to come help. So he did help the
yeah,
person I was seeing at the time to go retrieve soul pieces
yeah,
retrievals, and it's fascinating. And you're
yeah.
right, I didn't feel it right away.
Yeah, there are, look, there are many different beautiful wisdom traditions that work with the spirits and our ancestors in many different ways. And I honor all of them.
Mhm.
So I think it's important to find what works for you, but to also recognize sometimes our connections with other entities and energetic forces are healthy and
Yeah.
supportive, and sometimes they're not. So that is the work, is to uncover how can we release any attachments that are not supporting us or serving our highest good. And sometimes they're so entrenched in our, how we react, behave, and express ourselves that we're not always aware of them.
Mhm.
So that's where someone else can sometimes see what's going on and help with that process.
Yeah, yeah. Have you done past life regressions?
So I've done past life regression myself. I don't formally follow that process, but I have, if someone was looking to connect with that, how do I say this? There are different ways to work with clients. So I've noticed that some practitioners do things on behalf of the client. So they'll do a journey and bring that information to the client. I will often go with the client if the client is open to let them have the experience themselves. So I think there are different ways depending on how self-aware someone is and connected. So if they're very connected, they might know for themselves where the attachment is. Like I had an experience recently with a beautiful woman, and she was healing a relationship that was not healthy. And she knew exactly what was going on. So I guided her through the process, and she was able to do that release work herself. And I asked her, do you want me to do it for you, or would you like to do it yourself? And I find that that can be very empowering to let people take the agency and make those choices for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Yeah. And it's so healing. All of
Yeah.
it, so healing. Yeah. Can you show me the your book covers again? I wanted to
Yeah.
see maybe you walk us through the colors and how you came up with the different designs, even
Yeah.
the
So
title.
I worked with a designer, which was really wonderful process. So she was very helpful. So, I think part of the book was about helping people to understand their journey and make sense of it. So I came up with the process, the authentic alchemy path. And so the rainbow and sort of the bowl and the explosion of color is representative of the alchemical process of uncovering the inner truth. And then the other reason there's the rainbow of colors is I'm really working with the chakras. So the chakras each have a color: purple, indigo blue, turquoise, green, and pink, orange, yellow, and red. So I wanted those colors embodied. And I did want, when people saw the book, to know, oh, this is not a conventional career book about, like, oh, give me your elevator pitch. It's really about like finding a deeper meaning and purpose. So that was really what came up. And actually, you can almost see it better with the workbook. It's really got all the beautiful
That's
colors.
so
So,
pretty.
yeah,
Wow.
I love it. I was so happy when it came together. And I'm not an artist in the same way that you are, but I do love the creative design process. So it was very important for me to find in the book something visually that would capture and represent what the book was about. So that was a beautiful process.
Yeah, that's amazing. Where can people buy your book? Or
So my
books,
book,
this too.
yeah, my books are available on Amazon currently. I will be working to get them into other bookstores, but that's a process. I did publish them independently. And when I'm in live events in the New York area, I'll have books available for sale, and people can learn more on my website, which is growthwarrior.co, not .com.
Oh, see. Oh, is that new?
It was an alternative. I didn't want my last URL was a .net, and that was confusing for people. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, okay, okay, awesome. So is there anything that you'd like to talk to us about? Anything I didn't get to ask you?
I guess the thing that I would share is, I developed this 8-step framework from my work with over 1,000 conscious leaders, and I really believe that while the journey of change can feel challenging and overwhelming, it doesn't need to be. And that's why I created this structured framework to guide people in a way that they can do it for themselves. I can have, I work with clients privately. I'm happy to do that. But I wanted to give people the tools to really understand and feel empowered to make these choices for themselves, but to know that it's not like a one and done, like, change doesn't happen overnight. And so it is really sharing exercises, practices, check-ins, rituals, all of these different ways of considering what can bring more fulfillment and joy, and how can we align with our purpose. Why? Because the world needs more heart-centered leaders who are really thinking about the broader community and their impact. And that's really what I believe is needed now, to find as many people as possible and support them in stepping into living their truth.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. So what do you want people to get out of this episode?
Well, this went super deep, Bernadette. I was not expecting to get into all of this detail. So wow, we covered a lot. I guess my desire would be that for people who are looking for more purpose and meaning in their life and are open to change, that they know there are resources available. There's inspiration for people like you who have been through the journey. They can find guides to help them. I do that work